where does holograms, where does autostereoscopic 3D, where does that belong in the industry?
I just don't see any wide case uses for this. I mean, are we going to put these in restaurants and have like a hologram hostess? I mean, is that what we're thinking with this? I mean, who's got that price point? Who has that budget?
It was so difficult. Well, I loved it. And I was like, I want this, and we're going to change the world and all of higher ed. And I was all in. And now I'm like, I don't want to see another hologram again in my life.
Joe bought the thing in the first place so that he could be everywhere at once without having to have the kind of travel schedule that the poor guy suffers through every week.
Gotta love an army of me.
Holograms and Pro AV using LED for enhanced experience and a whole lot more acquisitions. All that and more next on AV Week. This is AV Week, episode 736, recorded Friday, September 26, 2025. Total cost of AV. This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of the biggest news and stories in the AV and the IT world. This week, we've got more acquisitions, AV training, and a new awards program. Let's get into it. Forte has announced its acquisition of Information Steknik, one of Scandinavia's leading AV integrators. The move strengthens Forte's presence in Northern Europe and gives them expanded reach into enterprise and event solutions. This continues the trend of consolidation among integrators, creating larger global networks able to deliver consistent service across borders. Bauer Media Group has acquired AM Screen, the UK-based digital signage manufacturer. AM Screen is known for its large outdoor display networks and high-profile deployments. With this deal, Bauer is positioning itself not just as a media owner, but also as a hardware player in digital out-of-home. Now, this signals new opportunities where content, network, and infrastructure can come under one roof. Real Communications has purchased High Human Interface, a company specializing in control surfaces and intuitive user interfaces. Riedel, of course, is known for intercom and media distribution, adds High's expertise to enhance operator workflows in broadcast and live production. This kind of simplified interface could make high-end systems easier for non-technical staff to run. Think volunteers and student workers. Back in the U.S., CTI has launched a Department of Labor registered audiovisual apprenticeship program. This is the first of its kind in the AV industry, offering a structured pathway for training and certifying AV technicians. As the skills gap widens, IT and AV leaders should keep an eye on how programs like this can help build the next generation of qualified professionals. And before we move on, a reminder, AVNation is owned by CTI. Finally, AV Magazine has announced the inaugural AV Awards Americas. Long a staple in the UK, the AV Awards will now recognize excellence across the US, Canada, and Latin America. The first edition is set to debut next year, giving integrators, manufacturers, and end users in the Americas a new platform to showcase innovation and leadership. Now, full disclosure, I have in the past hosted the live stream of the UK version of the AV Magazine Awards, and I will also act as a moderator for judging of the AV Awards Americas. That is your AV news. Stick around for this week's roundtable where we will discuss, well, holograms and more. This is AV Week. Welcome back. Now we bring in our fantastic roundtable with us to discuss the news and information we have gathered this week. Brittany Delgado, welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
A young man I got to hang out with, I would say play golf at the same time, but he did not play golf on Monday. Dr. Josiah Way. How are you, sir?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me back, Tim.
Absolutely, and thanks for having me at the Hetma golf tournament. It was really a whole lot of fun in beautiful Palm Springs. Not nearly as hot as it was last year. I will mention that.
I asked for 30 degrees less. We got 30 degrees less.
Yeah, but for those of you paying attention, last year was 120 Fahrenheit, so that's all relative. And last but not least, my buddy, Mr. Brock McGinnis. Welcome, sir.
Thanks, Tim. Always pleased to be here.
I do have to say thank you very much to my buddy Patrick Norton for hanging out and filling in for me the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, we were at IBC, so that was a whole lot of fun. And then I guess last week I was on my way back from that part of the world, so I appreciate him hanging out. First story this week we're going to wrap up and kind of dissect is from Rave Pubs. The new Future Stores brand activation venue on London's Oxford Street has opened, featuring 400 square meters. That's a lot. Of high precision LED surfaces driven by Hypnotizer media servers. The brands rotate through the system every few weeks. They stage immersive, digitally enriched retail experiences. The LEDs are using 1.5 millimeter displays, as well as the Hypnotizer servers. They manage 6 synchronized 8K feeds across 10 LED surfaces. That is a lot. Brittany, we're going to start with you on this. We have seen an awful lot of LED in the last couple of years. Quite frankly, it has come into its own with direct view LED, whether that is the smaller pitches, the smaller distances between the LEDs, the flexibility, and quite frankly, the players that are moving the video across these LEDs. When you look at this, where all else can we leverage LED, not just for exceptional experiences like Avixa would say, but just for making sure that we are engaging with our customers and our clients?
I think what's really important too is people are becoming more accepting of LED technology. I would say probably the past year or two, a lot of people are actually paying attention to the difference in the cost of ownership of like an LCD wall versus an LED. And, especially the technology itself is changing. Before we just had SMD, it was just outdoor. And now we've got the finer pixel pitches, but not even just that, but now we've got our COB and GOB, which is making LED sturdier to be in these areas where before you wouldn't want people too close, fear of damage, fear of hitting a pixel. But now that the technology is becoming firmer, I can see this going into more lobbies, into more museum space, replacing tickers, not just your typical boardroom space anymore. And it seems to change every single 6 months. We see something new with LED coming out, right? So it feels like not only do we need to accept it, but we also need to start trying to keep up.
Joe, Brittany just mentioned something there that is near and dear to a whole lot of folks' heart that are responsible for managing the system, and that is total cost of ownership. So when you leverage, let's just say generically, the different types of display technology, this is a really unfair question, by the way. How do you manage and how do you figure out what really is the total cost of ownership when you compare the different types of display technologies and go, okay, in this space, it makes more cost-efficient sense to put in LED, and in this space, a projector is actually the best use of our resources.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to come down to how I can support it. If I'm looking at this from higher ed, like obviously I read this story and I go, retail, we have that. We have open areas where we're trying to get alumni in. We've got athletics. We've got obvious places to use it. But that still being said, I've got to have people to change content. Where am I actually needing something that what content is going up, right? Anything in classroom, academic, I'm not going to use an LED wall. I just won't. And in the same thing, I had this conversation the other day with someone saying, oh, you're going LED in all your classrooms? And then I'm like, and then the faculty are going to write where? Right? Like, where's the whiteboard go? Where does it, there's still some things based on use of the space that matter. But if I'm trying to attract money, which is why it's perfect in a retail space. If I'm trying to attract a donor, if I'm trying to do that, that's where these things make sense. And then to finally answer your question, the total cost of ownership comes down to how effective is it in that space for the time I'm going to use it and the money that's coming in through there, right? Not to downplay the tuition dollars of a classroom, but the fact is that's changing users, it's changing impact, it's changing what's happening. Well, that's not the case in the retail. Even if, in the story where they're talking about changing the content every 2 to 6 weeks, well, that's manageable with a content team. If I have to change what's going up every hour, that's not manageable. That goes into my total cost of ownership. I also need to look at things like sustainability. I also look at big LED walls that are going to be on all the time. And I'm looking at that as a big old power draw and power surge for my campus. And I'm looking at that at scale. That can add up as well. While I love it, it's still, I think we're kind of at the precipice where we can start to make the change. And I'm a big homer into having LED and having direct view and having experiential things. I don't know if they're fully there yet, but it's better than putting a 3x3, panels next to each other and having the bevels in between. That's for sure.
Oh, amen to that.
All right, Brock. From a technology standpoint, and when you're pitching this, what is, quite frankly, what's the trade-offs between a video wall, which is what Joe had just talked about there, 3x3 LCD, with bezels in between, even the ones that say bezel-less, there's still a line there, or projection or LED, direct view LED. What is the trade-offs between each, and how do you assess that for a client?
I don't think anybody should be installing tiled LCD video walls anywhere except quick serve restaurant menus anymore. I think it just screams low tech and low budget. And the world has moved on from that. If you need a large format video display and you need it to be bright and you need to have high contrast, so if you take a 2x2 is a 110, I think a 3x3 is a 163. The all-in-one direct views that are full HD resolution, not a lot more money, a lot less expensive to install. Now that there are, as Brittany pointed out, alternatives to SMD, which is pretty high risk in a public environment because of the pixels getting chopped off as people walk by or the cleaning carts bump into them. Now we've got, as she said, the glue on board and the flip chip kind of technology that's available. I consider them, Joe, projection replacements. And they're going everywhere. We used to have a projector that doesn't have technical staff that can support that projector, because nobody should have to get up in the middle of the boardroom table and wiggle that cable or try and change that lamp if it's an older unit in order to get a picture on a screen. The thing I like best about LED, though, Tim, is the flexibility of the form factor. And the fact that we don't have to have the message look like a TV. I think, we're surrounded by 16:9 displays everywhere we go all the time. And I think our brains kind of blank on that 16:9 format. And if we can have a ribbon, if we can have a vertical column, if we can have something that goes up and around, the eye is drawn to it, and then the message can get delivered, whatever that message is. And otherwise, it's just like, somebody's running CNN in the background on a, blah, blah, blah TV. I'm very fond of direct view LED. That retail shop in London, I hope it has extraordinary air conditioning, because that place must be very hot. And if it's very hot, it's not an attractive olfactory environment to walk into at all, because there's still a heat issue for sure off many of the displays. But it's where we're going, and even the little displays at some point may end up being closer to a direct view pixel than it is our current backlit multi-layer LCD technology.
I want to pull on something here, and I'll ask all three of you if you want to comment on this. But something that Brock just said, and I'm certain there's a term here, and I don't know what it is, but I think that everybody's familiar with the term nose blind, right? It's where you're so used to a certain olfactory area that you don't smell it, but somebody comes in from the outside and is like, "Oh my God, there's so much garlic in this room," whatever it is, right?
My dogs.
Your dogs, right? 100% dogs. Is there a visual version of nose blindness when it comes to that form factor, like Brock said, where we're just used to 16:9, so it just kind of goes in one ear and out the other. But for direct view LED, if we can leverage that form factor flexibility, I'm not talking about flexible DV LED, although there is that, but the form factor flexibility where we can get that message through, again, the visual version of notice blindness, and I'm sure somebody somewhere is going to email me the answer there, to really take this technology and cut through, in essence, the visual noise and deliver the message regardless of what it is.
I'll chime in first and say absolutely yes. Just as a consumer, when, I go to a local sports bar, they have a giant LCD. I absolutely notice the bezels. I absolutely notice the color differentials. And it makes it sometimes difficult to look at, And so I do think that people don't realize too, and obviously we're all in technology, so we know what aspect ratios and content and how that all plays in. But I think we'd be really surprised just talking to everyday people who just have no idea that they're looking at 16:9 content or what that means, or, trying to throw something that's in a 235 onto a 16:9 and not grasping what's happening. So 100% there's eye blindness happening.
Yeah, I want to add on to that, and I'll say that Brock was 100% correct. See, there's your sound bite. When we say that you should be putting, LED up anywhere where you would have had projection or anything along those lines. And I'm thinking even this week when we were at the golf tournament in the one clubhouse and it had the LCD next to LCD.
Don't punk them out, Joe.
Right?
Don't
it
punk them
it
out.
kind of did it looked a little bit, old sports bar. But then the next day, BC and I went over to the other clubhouse they just redone at Stadium, and we walked in and they had that ribbon look with the displays and one solid ribbon. And I even said to BC Hatchett at Vanderbilt and said, what aspect ratio was that? That was cool because it wasn't 16:9 or 32:9 or 21:9. It was a unique thing to fit the space, right? And they had the ESPN embedded into it along with the borders of the golf course, and thought that's a great use of it, right? But my thing is when I'm looking at things from a campus and we've got somewhere near 800 or 900 digital signage displays and things that we're doing, to have the staff to keep coming up with content that isn't 16:9 is difficult, right? So I need to have people that are set and can do that, or leverage AI to say, take this and give it to me in something with a pretty border in this resolution. But I totally agree. When you see it that's not standard 16:9, something goes, I like it. And you don't even need to know what it is. There's something that draws you to it. And I don't think you even have to be in the industry for that to happen. When you see something on a column, you go, that's cool. It draws your eyes because you're right. When you see a standard TV or standard display, you just walk past it. And I'm sure digital signage people who are watching can give you those numbers and to tell you how many eyes get on a screen, especially when it's just, a fancy PowerPoint playing over and over and over versus.
Joe, your 800 or 900 display, that's public information displays, right? And people will search them out looking for the information they need, just as if they're, I was going to say a bus station, but nobody goes to bus stations anymore, just as they're at the
train
airport.
Stations.
Yeah, there you go. At the airport. It's about other kinds of communication, whether that's for entertainment purposes or it's for marketing. And marketing is still a huge, how do you capture the attention of the generation of average age of students that attend your school, Joe? These people grew up in screens. They might have been vertical format, but they spend their life doing this on a screen. And if you want to catch their attention, there has to be a wow factor to it, like something that's going to draw the eye. And one of the ways of doing that, these fake 3D, anamorphic things that jump out of the signs at you, but shape is easy and cheap, and we're starting to see a lot more of it in retail applications. I saw a cool one that Coca-Cola had commissioned where it was a thin band along a countertop, like just below a countertop, and it's selling you their products as you walk down an aisle, and I thought it was brilliant because I looked at it. There was a dwell time to perceive the information. I've got their branding color. I've got their logo, all which are already ingrained in my brain. And boom, maybe I'll buy their product instead of something else.
We're going to cover another display technology. Our friends over at AV Magazine has an article about Looking Glass. They launched a new class of display called the Hololuminescent display. The last time I'm going to say that, everything else is HLD. It turns ordinary video into quote-unquote glasses-free, lifelike 3D holograms. Side note, Dr. Way and I was at a conference, or at an event, good God, 4 years ago now, called CinemaCon, and we saw a different type of technology. I think it was art media,
Yep.
Joe, being...
ART.
ART, yeah, ART, being
ARHT,
promoted.
I think it was.
Since then-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now bankrupt.
Yeah, they are no more. But this technology is slightly different, but it's still the same question here. Is these folks are bringing up, holographic, glasses 3D, glasses free 3D rather, auto stereoscopic for those if you want to sound smart. But Joe, a simple question here is where does holograms, where does auto stereoscopic 3D, where does that belong in the industry?
It doesn't. I mean, I hate saying it, but I mean, I want to. So, Tim, when we saw it, we saw the little hologram machine, life-size thing.
Yes.
It was the coolest thing. I went straight back and bought one. I said, I want
Well, you bought
this.
two.
We got one. We got one. But
Okay,
we have a
well,
studio.
okay.
We built a studio to be able to create the content, and then we had it. We thought, how great, get faculty in there. We could teach lectures with it. You see all the branding they tell you can do with this, and it was the most difficult thing to manage. And it could not, like, what you had to do to get good quality. You couldn't have it really far distance people without the right like. It was so difficult. Well, I loved it, and I was like, I want this, and we're going to change the world and all of higher ed, and I was all in. And now I'm like, I don't want to see another hologram again in my life. And while I think it's cool, and this is better, right? The article you got, it's thin, you can hang it on a wall, and it's not 3D that's coming out to you, it's 3D that's going into the wall-ish and creating that. Is it cool? Sure, it's cool. But, I can't do it. I can't do it anymore because it just became so hard to find the use case.
Yeah.
And again, it's kind of like I'm repeating my answer from the previous story, but it all comes down to content creation, right? And whether you can do it, and what artists like. And I really want to like it, but I've got to pass on this now, and I'm afraid to even know how much it costs because I know how much money we.
Well, I'm afraid it's like half of what you paid for the other one, so that's really going to, anyhow. Brock, same question, is where does this belong?
I was hoping that Brittany had an answer to that. Brittany, can I pass this off to you?
Sure. I honestly only see this being used in extremely niche situations. I mean, let's think about certain museums like Meow Wolf, for example, I think is a really good example of where something like this can work. Because it's not your traditional museum. It's an extremely immersive museum. Yeah. And honestly, that's only where I can see it working is just in these very niche, maybe like amusement with like a Disney or a Universal, very small, very controlled, because I just don't see any wide case uses for this. I mean, are we going to put these in restaurants and have like a hologram hostess? I mean, is that what we're thinking with this? I mean, who's got that price point? Who has that budget?
Well, hang on for a second, Brittany. Don't get that. It's not out of the question. One of the very first use cases, and it wasn't art. I don't remember which company it was. I apologize. But I believe it was the very first year that ISC was in Barcelona. It was 2022 then. Mike Blackman was in a hologram welcoming you to the Fira. So absolutely, you could have a hostess there, right? Just, I mean, let's
It's
be
why
crazy.
it's why Joe bought the thing in the first place. It's so that he could be everywhere at once without having to have the kind of travel schedule that the poor guy suffers through every week.
That is accurate.
Right.
That was it. There's no question. I've installed the transparent OLED product
Yeah.
in retail that does the same thing, except it creates TV or the 3D feeling by actually having a physical device in it. It's got a shoe in it, it's got a watch in it, it's got something else, and there is a bit of a wow factor if you can get people to stop and look at but it's like an aquarium. It's like, how long are you going to look at the aquarium, and how much is that worth, and will that translate? I love the fact that this is standard imagery using standard production tools, Premiere, and then it goes into their magic box and becomes something. So I like that, and this seemed to be simply another layering technique on top of lensing technique on top of traditional LCD construction, which means that possibly in the future, if they scale up to much higher output, it could be much lower cost. But yeah, Meow Wolf's perfect.
It's the only place I could think of that, or Coachella, they brought Tupac once, so maybe they'll do it again with this. So
You're talking about places where there may be some other mind-altering effects in use at the same time, correct?
Yeah, I mean, and I think you were onto something too. The virtual receptionist, because you're seeing that in office buildings and things like that, could be to give it a little bit more of, a personality. But I don't, I don't know. I just, either put a human there or just normal display. 2D, we're fine with 2D. We're good. We're good.
Well, that will be a fantastic place to stop. Thank you all so much. Brittany, how do people connect with you or Midwich?
all right, so you can find us at midwich.us, and you can reach me with my first and last name, Brittany.Delgado at midwich.us. And if you're okay with this, Midwich is having an event next month. We're having our Tech Connect Boston on October 29th. So if you're on the East Coast and you want to have a good time up on the stateroom, it's going to be some floors above up looking over historic downtown, but we will be there.
Will our friend Mr. Netto be there?
Yes, Mr. Netto will be there. So if you want to, get a picture with the elusive man himself, head on up to Boston.
I don't think you can say he's elusive. He's just everywhere. Like, you can find him. You just got to be in the right spot. And by the time you're listening to this, that right spot will be London this week, just for the record, at UC Expo. Dr. Josiah Way, thank you, sir. How do people connect with you, with HETMA, with anybody else that you wanna promote?
Yeah, you can find me at TD Albright on the Twitter, and if you don't want to hear anything tech, you can read all my articles at Tim Albright on LinkedIn.
Thank you, sir.
Or you can find me at Josiah Way, and of course, go to hetma.org. Everyone is welcome for connecting with the higher ed family. You don't have to be in higher ed. We are a channel partner.
And you also check out their higher ed podcast as well, and the website. Lots of really good stuff there. So thank you, sir. Mr. McGinnis, thank you, sir. How do people connect with you?
My business email's brock@nationwideav.com, but you'll find me on social these days a lot, trying to promote the new Canadian Professional Audio Visual Society. It's actually the Professional Audio Visual Society of Canada, and our website is pavs.ca, and we are rolling well, and it's an exciting time to be in the AV industry.
Very cool. Very excited to see that, and excited to watch you guys. Obviously, I can't join because I am in no way, shape, or form Canadian, so... but we know a few of you guys, so we'll get them heading your way. Mr. Way is not wrong. Don't follow me anywhere, but go by the website, AVNation.tv. That's AVNation.tv. You'll find this program and a host of others. We do have a brand new career mastermind. Jennifer Weaver is talking with Michael Corkery from Pennsylvania Eastern District Court about AV careers in the courtrooms. I not quite as traveled as my buddy Neto, but I have been around the world the last month or so. If you missed me at IBC or at Church Facilities Expo, you can catch me twice in Chicago the month of October. The 7th, I will be in Chicago for Almo's E4, and then back to the Windy City the 22nd for the very first AV user group meeting in Chicago. So you can check me out there. Go by the website though, AVNation.tv. It's AVNation.tv. If you're watching this on YouTube and you're tired of looking at me, you can go listen to our podcast and subscribe there. And if you want to see what these fine folks sound like and you're just listening to the podcast, you can go find it on YouTube. But go by the website, AVNation.tv, AVNation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That is all the time we have for AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
This is AV.
This
is AV Nation.
This is AV Nation.